start, nigga. Hey, man. shout out to everybody out there, man. We back again live, you know what I'm saying? We in this bitch. We come back with another movie review. The Real Rap Coalition podcast. Today, we got a very special episode. Brought to you by yours truly. You know? But before we get into that, we're going to introduce ourselves, man, so y'all know who we are. My name is Showtime Slim. Who else we got in the building?
Yeah. It's Black Wahlberg in it, beat. It's BlackRootz in motherfucker, man. Back again.
Shout out Dark Wahlberg.
Shout out Dark Wahlberg. It's Bob Celeste, Luno, legend shit. Yo, I'm be back with another movie, man. It's crazy what niggas would do for gold. Let's get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It's Artt, man. Backed by popular demand. I know the fans was like, "Yo, where's Artt at, bro?" Like, bro, I think I'm gonna unsubscribe, bro. Artt don't come back, so I had to follow the fans' wishes, bro. So
that nigga Artt got a lot of people that watch this shit with him.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, a lot. 3.
It's 7 to be exact.
Talk to this nigga, man. Talk that fan shit, nigga. But yeah, man. Today is episode 23. And the movie was chosen by me. It is The Italian Job from 2003. However, I'm going to let Luno go ahead and take the lead on this, man. Go ahead, Luno. You got it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this movie takes us to Venice, Italy, at least at the beginning. We basically have a group of thieves. They're looking to do a high-level heist of about, like 40 million or so in gold. This gold,
like 35, I think. 35.
Okay. Gold was in the possession of, I think there were Russians, I want to say. There's some Russians or whatever. And so Mark Wahlberg, he stars, a member of this band of thieves. And he looks to the kind of leader of the crew as like an inspiration and kind of like a father figure. There's some intimacy in this group of thieves, despite, the line of work. Nonetheless, they were successful with the heist, but one member of the heist specifically, his name was Steve. He decided to, it seemed to be the case that he had set them up when they left the route. They were stopped on like a one-way road, and they were attacked by basically this dude Steve's contacts, and Steve just wanted all the gold for himself, and so there's an exchange. Shots are fired. They end up driving their vehicle off of the side, and the leader of that band of thieves ends up being killed. Now, the leader of that group of thieves, he had a daughter and stuff, and he didn't really see her much because he was in this thieving shit. But he lost his life before he was able, to go back and be a good father to her. But we jump into the present, and this band of thieves, some years later now, looking to get back into it, looking to get it back in blood and maybe get it back in gold. And to help them out, the daughter of the leader of that band of thieves, I forget her name off the top of my head. Oh, Stella. She joins them, and because she has these skills with lockpicking and stuff, she does ethical jobs with lockpicking, for police and stuff like that to test out locks. But Mark Wahlberg's character, Charlie, he recruits her and says, "This is our chance to get revenge. We can't move on from this until we make things right." And so our movie is about this group of thieves and Stella basically finding this group, Charlie and Stella and the band of thieves pursuing Steve and trying to get that gold back. It's action thriller. It's a fun movie. And man, that's where we're at. So
yeah, I want to before we get into like really breaking everything down, I want to talk about the cast, man. It's like an all-star lineup, bro. Like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Out the gate, Marky Mark, man. Like
Marky
my guy. You know what I'm saying? Mark Wahlberg. He's top 2 of my favorite Caucasian actors. So
one thing
why you segregating your actors list?
Because
segregating them.
he used to be like number 1, but then it's like it might be a tie now. It's top 2.
Yeah, you got Robert De Niro's and Denzel Washington. Then you got the Mark Wahlbergs.
Mark Wahlberg's Ryan Reynolds.
I got the cast pulled up in front of me now, so I'm gonna just run through it real quick. We got
Mhm.
Mark Wahlberg, Jason Statham,
Shout out Jason Statham.
facts.
Yep.
Edward
Jason
Norton.
Statham.
Fucking
He
Ed
played a
Norton.
pretty good.
You know what
He
I'm
did a
saying?
pretty good bad guy.
As the
you know what I'm
bad
saying?
guy. Fire.
Yeah, I think last time I saw him was what, Hulk 2? The Incredible Hulk?
Yep.
Yeah,
he was
Incredible
in
Hulk, the
the
original
Hulk
Incredible
movie.
Hulk.
That's the last
He was in
movie
Fight
you saw
Club
him in?
also.
I think that's the last. That's the most.
Yeah,
recent movie
I think that's
saw
the
him,
only. If you've seen 2 Ed Norton movies, is
I've
those
seen
2.
a lot of them.
Well, now
Like,
I can
I've
say
probably
I
seen
can
him,
say
but
that I've
probably
seen
not
like
noticed
3
him.
now, right? Because
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
this
he was
is
in
the
the
third one.
Avengers. And he was also in Fight Club, right? I'm pretty sure he's in
Yeah,
Fight Club.
He wasn't
Yeah.
in the Avengers. He was in the Hulk. He's supposed to be in the Avengers, but he was in the original Hulk movie. That's
Yeah,
a part of the MCU.
But yeah, he loved you know.
Okay, so another one, Glass Onion, the Knives Out spinoff.
Yep, he was in Glass Onions.
I forgot.
I
Yeah, I've
saw
never
him in a
seen
movie
that.
with Will Smith, Collateral Beauty. I know y'all probably ain't seen that. KTL told me about that movie. And he was in a magic movie I watched called The Illusionist. It was fire.
So Luno mentioned her earlier. I don't want to fuck up her name.
Charlize. That's what he said.
Charlize
Theron.
Theron.
Theron, you know her
No,
name, Mark?
Charlize Theron. Like she's like pre Scarlett Johansson, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, somebody
before.
asked me
I
while
can
I
see
was
it.
streaming this movie.
She
to a
got the
group,
same.
and
Like they even sound the
asked me.
same, and they kind
Yeah.
of got the same archetype. As like
Somebody asked me if she was Scarlett Johansson because I was streaming it, and somebody was like,
Nah,
"Is that Scarlett
but I
Johansson?"
can see it. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland.
Yeah,
that was the guy. He was in Hunger Games and shit.
Yeah.
Yep, he was in the
like
Hunger
the
Games. He was
headmaster
in
or
the
something like that.
movie version of Pride and Prejudice. I don't know if you guys have read that book, but I definitely remember he was an actor in that movie as well. Besides that, I'm not really familiar with him.
We got motherfucking Seth Green in this bitch.
I know
Family
that
Guy.
name.
Seth
Family
Green
Guy.
is
Family
Green
Guy.
is
Okay, that's why. I was like, I know.
Robot
Pound of
Chicken.
Cattle,
Okay.
Austin Powers.
Yeah, he got some shit.
And
I don't think I've seen
apparently
him
the
until
original
recently.
It too. I don't know.
Yeah, the original
Really?
It. He was
I
Eddie
did not know
Casper. He was Eddie in the original It.
That's dope. I actually didn't know that.
And you know, last but not least, fucking Mos Def, nigga.
Most
Yeah,
Def,
most
that's
probably
definitely-
most
actually
underrated
Mo.
rapper turned actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was taking a look at some of the movies that he starred in. It's very few and far between. Not too many that we talk about still today.
Most
But
definitely, that's. I'm sorry to cut you off. That's why I
good.
say he's the most underrated. He don't be in a lot of bad movies. He's a
Right.
he got a like he chooses a lot of good movies.
Yeah, I know one movie that I hate but love at the same time that he was in. He was in a movie with Damon Wayans called Bamboozled, and the ending of that movie pisses me off so much. But
That's
I
Spike Lee
actually
movie.
fuck with that movie.
So, what y'all thought about the characters? Like, how did they resonate
Well,
with y'all?
this is like I'm not really. I don't. This is like probably my first ever heist movie that I've seen.
Really?
So, but like I know the stereotypes of a heist movie, and they always have like a ragtag group of people. This guy does the explosives. This guy does the lock picking. This guy
They
does
create
the
a team
tic-tac.
that does
Yeah.
like all this different
So
shit. Yeah.
it was kind of cliche, but it works because it's a heist movie. So, but no, I like the characters. I like Seth Green character. He got this thing with he beefing with the nigga that made Napster and shit.
Yeah.
Nigga say he the real Napster.
I'm the real Napster.
Yeah, the real.
He was
Napster.
taking a nap. He was taking a nap.
Yo, he had me weak, bro. He had me weak because he was saying like they thought they called it Napster because I don't know, some dumb shit. It was because I was napping when he stole it. Man, that shit had me weak.
Hey,
bro.
no, that shit when he was in the car, whenever Rob got out to talk to that
Oh
bitch.
my
They
God.
came
He was
up-
doing the voices, bro. I was
Bro, he
dead,
was
bro.
hating
He was
so
doing the
hard.
voices.
So crazy, bro.
That shit was funny as fuck.
Hey, let me say though, this acting job, I think it was good. But it was good for me because I know that the film had to have some levity or like some humor. I thought that even though it was very serious plot, like in terms of the situation, like they definitely had some comedy thrown in. And so, one thing that threw me off at first, at least, was that Mark Wahlberg kind of mailed in some of the emotional performance at the beginning when they lost.
Yeah,
because when John. Yeah, when John died, I thought he was just kind of doing like a crunched face. He wasn't really like seizing that
he
emotion.
wasn't really selling the
Right.
crime.
But as the story progresses and more humor and stuff comes in, I realize these characters aren't taking themselves all that seriously. They're just doing what they need to do to, you know, play the part. So on that note, I mean, I think my favorite character to have on the screen at the very least was actually Jason Statham. You know, I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I thought that Jason Statham's character that they had him playing on top of his accent, I felt like Jason Statham's character is very strong for this film, very entertaining.
Hey, I got something to say about that. So I'm just thinking this right now. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. Because y'all have seen a lot of his performances, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm much a fan of Crank. I'm much a fan of
Crank
the
was
Transporter series, especially. It's the mold for me for those kind of like high speed chase type of movies.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I feel the like the personality of his characters, it might be almost the same for like a lot of the movies.
Well,
Yeah.
I won't
I was
go
saying the
that
same
far.
thing. He's like a typecast.
Because
Yeah.
I'll say that even though they tend to get him into these roles where he's some badass behind the wheel and stuff like that, in the Transporter, very much more serious. He's a very demure and like very serious dude tasked with like an important mission, and there's a lot of drama in those films. Here, it was nice to see Jason Statham still kind of being a badass, but also being fucking hilarious.
I'll say that's one thing I don't see from him often. I don't see like the comedy part of it. Because like I see him like, you know, he was in the Fast and Furious franchise as the
I'm about to say,
villain.
Hobbs and Shaw, he was kind of funny with The Rock.
I didn't watch Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny
spin-off.
It was more so to kind of
also the
feed off of
Expendables.
what The Rock was doing. You know,
The Expendables
it
franchise
a little
too.
More funny. Yeah,
But,
he was up in the Expendables too.
If it wasn't Jason Statham though, I would definitely give credit to Edward Norton. I mean, Edward Norton was supposed to be the bad guy in this film, you know, relative to our characters. Everybody's a criminal, but he was supposed to be the bad guy. And I thought that he played the bad guy very well for particular reasons, one of which just being the personality they gave him. Very self-centered, very egotistical, thinks he knows better than the next man. And he got like a bastard mustache in this movie too. Very Hitlerian, like kind of look with his facial hair. So they did Steve's character really well. And I also like that you know, between the characters themselves and shit like that, a lot of funny ass fucking dialogue. Every actor did a really good job of like mailing the comedy in. So,
real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but I actually just came across this and I did not know this. I've seen this movie 2 times before and I never knew this. So the dude who stole Napster in the movie, his name is Sean Fanning. He's the actual developer
of Napster. Correct. And he played himself in this movie.
Exactly. That is hilarious for me.
That's fire. That's fire.
Yeah, I think that's fire. I didn't know it, but you know, to have that cameo in there, I think that's fire.
But as far as acting, I think I could sum it up that it was not only appropriate, but it was also it was very entertaining. I thought that.
What about the only woman in here besides Becky? What about her? What y'all thought about her? How she did?
Well, all the other women besides, all the other women in the film, I think had kind of like a minimal role. Becky herself was just there to get rizzed. Gloria O'Brien played Handsome Rob's girl, but we don't really get too much screen time with her, so I can't go too much into.
We really just got Stella. That's what I was asking about Stella. How do y'all feel about Stella?
Sorry, you called her Becky, so maybe because she had the outfit on that said Becky, but Stella, I thought that one thing was she was probably the most emotional character. Obviously, she's the one dealing with the death of her father. So I thought that in her moments of like emotionality, she really worked that very well. Also, I mean, I like the role she was casted for. I like that not only did she have that emotional side, but also she was right there with the rest of the cast with a lot of the humor and stuff. She didn't drag down the mood. A lot of times you'll have like a female lead that drags down the mood. I thought even in the movie that we watched where they invaded the hotel. Sorry, what movie was that we watched? No Escape. I thought that the female lead, even though there were some like pretty like quirky or like interesting interpersonal shits going on, that the stressed out mom was always there in the corner making this like feeling like, you know. So I like that they made Charlize play like a character that had like that serious side, but also like that reckless abandon shit too. So I think she did a great job.
Another tidbit of information, interesting information. Skinny Pete, which was not skinny at all, but his real name is Guati, I don't know if I'm saying
I think
this
it's
right.
Gotti. It's just Gotti.
Or Gotti. So he's actually a member of the Booyah Tribe, which is a rap group from a while ago. And I think that's fucking dope as fuck too. Like Most Def wasn't the only rapper that they casted in this. And I think he did his job pretty well. He didn't have much lines to say, but being just in the criminal world and having connections, or he's being the person that provides certain things for these people. I think he did a pretty good job with that as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I know Artt said that this is the first time that he's really watched a heist movie, and when I was watching, I kind of realized that I actually really like heist movies. Like I've seen a lot of them, and what I kind of find fire about the heist movies is I feel like it's a lot of detail that goes into the writing of it, because it's a lot of detail and coordination that comes into play when they're putting together these schemes, and this person got to do this in order for this to happen type shit. Like the way everything is coordinated in this type of shit, I think that shit is fire because everything works together. Everything, like in the beginning, the opening scene, not the opening scene, but in the beginning when they were trying to rob the first safe, like Ed Norton was down inside of the house and he was painting the top of the thing, and Mos Def was up there painting another side of it. They both put like little chips on it, microchips or some shit on it, and then it both exploded because of what each of them had did individually type shit. Like that type of putting the pieces together and making it all work as one big plan. Like I think that type of shit is fire, and it takes a lot of attention to detail and planning and shit.
Absolutely.
I think the first thing that comes to most people's mind whenever you think of a heist movie is probably the Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11 is fucking amazing.
And so
to me,
I think in comparison to that, I think this did a pretty good job. I think it completed the task at hand. It was a more funny, a little bit more funny than Ocean's 11, I would say, but I think this still did the job of being a heist movie.
I think with this one, because I think Ocean's 11 is fire. That might have been one of them that I had as a suggestion to have on the podcast as well. I can't remember, but I think with this one, it's like we get a lot of action involved, whereas Ocean 11 is more like it's these group of guys and they're kind of just trying to rob a casino, so they're not really in boats and driving throughout the city like in this type of movie type shit. And so I think they was able to execute that shit really well to kind of mix the action in with the whole heist thing. I think it was fire. This is also a remake. I didn't see the original, but this is a remake.
The remake came out in like 68 or something like that. But I think with this movie, in comparison to the Ocean series, with the heisters or whatever you want to call them, they're more focused on the scheme itself and the intelligence of it and the intricacies of the scheme. Whereas this is a more so in your face action. People get shot and just more action shit. Somebody got socked in this movie too. We can't leave that out at all.
They was punching the shit out that nigga. That nigga got punched twice.
Yeah, he deserved it, but you know what I'm saying. I think he got much worse at the end, but we'll get to that. Honestly, as far as the heist theme is concerned, I think that a movie that's not too serious, also being able to deal with that shit and put enough intricacy to be interesting is dope. We understand like the time sensitive element, we understand the technical element, and they really do kind of get to that stuff, but they don't make it too overwhelming. There's never a point where you got to understand it too intricately. It's just you just get it.
I agree.
So that was dope. But one thing this movie also does too is kind of give our cast of characters the sort of hero element. So no matter how bad it gets, we usually expect them to come out on top, which it might take a little bit away from like the tension of the heist. But since this movie isn't strictly like a thriller, that I'm okay with a little bit of plot armor and shit like that. At the end, obviously Shorty loses her confidence. He's like, no, you can do it, and then she does it. It's just like whatever.
That scene, I think that was really good. I think her what's her name? I want to
Stella.
Stella, her anxiety of being in the same room as the man that killed her father, and then having to be the person that kind of puts the nail in the coffin with this heist of all of this is for nothing if you're not able to do what we brought you on to do. And you know, she's so anxious and she fucks up a little bit and she's like, oh no, I gotta get in there, I gotta be able to see. And you know what, and then she's able to complete the task. And even with her her previous I don't know ritual of cracking safes and not looking inside, she finally at the end, hell yeah, I want to see what's inside. And, you know, she finally sees all the gold and whatnot, and she's ecstatic and shit like that. I think that she actually did a really good job in this movie all the way around.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I think my bad, Luna.
Not good.
Yeah, I think it's a really good use of plot development for her character too, because as we see at the beginning, she's cracking the safe for the police force. She cracks it and she's using her tools or whatever, and she goes and she tells them, like Root said, she don't never look inside the safe or nothing like that. That she don't do that. So whenever she got with the group and they was asking her how long it's gonna take her to do it, she's like 5 minutes. And then Rob was like, hey, once you get in there and your nerves going and there's pressure and shit, your hands sweating, you know what I'm saying? He was like, hey, don't be cocky because you ain't ever really been in a situation like this. This ain't the same as just cracking some shit for the police. Like, this is some real life shit where niggas got to get in and get out or else they gonna die potentially type shit. So he gave her that little speech and she was like, she ain't worried about it. She gonna be all right. To later in the movie, when it gets in that situation, we see her anxiety, like Root said. She kind of lost confidence. She had a lot of confidence at the beginning. She thought she was going to be straight. And when they got in that situation, she realized she couldn't do it. And then she ended up fucking up. And it was like, I can't really do this shit with the tools no more. I got to use my hands, kind of like her pops used to do. Her pops used to do the shit by hand.
And before you continue, just real quickly, that point where she clarified, like, she'll be good and she'll be all right. Remember what was said to her? It was Jason Statham's character saying essentially, okay, little girl, but it's different once, you're sweating, that anxiety hits you, your hands are shaking and shit, So that was a little bit of foreshadowing they did.
Facts. And then she went through that shit. And like you said, it's a hero type of thing. So she was able to overcome that. But I think it was a good use of character progression. Like, they showed her from being one way type shit, she does it this way with technology and tools, and she thinks she's so fucking great that it's not gonna bother her once she gets in that situation, and then she ends up having to overcome that shit. So
I would have liked it better, though, not to put ideas into the director's head, but it would have been nice if they fucked up at that scene and she fucks up and then she goes I can't do this and then they have like a kind of exchange and then they say something to her that she says something like, why would you guys even trust me with this? And then Mark Wahlberg puts his hand on her and says, I can trust anyone. It's the devil inside people I can't trust, which would be like a quote from the father. And then like that moment would have been like a culmination. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what's crazy about that?
Yeah.
Like they integrated that in there. Like that's what her pops was saying at first. He told Steve that on the phone, or he told Charlie to tell Steve, one of the two, I can't remember. But essentially he got that message to Steve. And then fast forward to when she's on the date with Steve, she fucks up and accidentally says that same shit. And that's what made him realize, oh yeah, you his daughter type shit. Cause I ain't never heard nobody else say that but him. And now you're saying it. And
yeah, so you actually that's another good job that she did with that, because you can see the fuck up on her face right after she says it.
Let go of my hand. He started grabbing her wrist. He was squeezing that bitch wrist. I thought that scene was crazy. When he was squeezing her wrist, he was like, "Who you working for?" And then she knocked over that shit. And then they all just walked in the room.
That shit was fire.
It's like that nigga saw a ghost, bro, because he thought they was dead.
Nigga was shook.
I think that was fire.
How did you not see a punch to your face coming in that moment?
She punched the fuck out that nigga.
Nah, not even that part. The fucking
Charlie. Charlie punched the fuck out that nigga first.
Charlie socked the shit out that nigga.
He definitely did. Then he threw some money on the table.
Bro, he was doing his regular villain shit of monologue, and like, oh, you You fucked up your element of surprise. Wop, right in his teeth. And then he's like, is that enough of a surprise for you? Paid for that nigga dinner and left.
Hey, Luno, that's a point that you was making about the dialogue. They had some really crazy dialogue and how they handled it in this movie, like what he just said. But also, at the beginning of the movie, it was one where after he betrayed him and he put the gun to John before he killed him, because John was like, hey man, you know it ain't nowhere you can go where we ain't gonna find you. And he was like, yeah, you probably right. Then he just shot the fuck out them niggas because of that. Like, I think that type of dialogue, that shit was unexpected as fuck. Like, normally we hear people give like warnings and monologues and they foreshadow shit, and it's like we hear a nigga say, yeah, it ain't nowhere you can go where we can't find you. And normally I feel like the bad guy get cocky and he just let him go and he goes off and eventually they finds him. What he tried to do was he was like, yeah, you're right. It ain't nowhere I can go where y'all ain't gonna find me. So he tried to kill the fuck out of them niggas in that moment.
Right.
I feel like that's some different shit that they was doing with this dialogue.
One thing that kind of was inconsistent to some extent, to me at least, was when they have the square off in the restaurant, and prior to that encounter, Charlie said that Steve thinks all of us are dead, and that's why we need you to be the female technician for the cable. Right. But when they met up with him, he was surprisingly chill. Like, not that surprised that it was Charlie and his gang. Like, I feel like
he gave off a look on his face that was kind of shocked. Maybe it could have been more, but it looked like he gave a look.
But then his his arrogance took over from that point.
Okay. So then he was just talking his shit after that.
Yeah, he was talking his shit. He was talking crazy the whole movie.
Yeah, he really was, bro. Like, bro, he was persistent as hell to get on the date with Stella, bro. Like, that nigga would not quit.
Hey, and also, Luno, something they did with his character, like in the beginning, whenever they first stole the gold, everybody was talking about what they was gonna buy, and they asked him what he was gonna get. He said, I don't know. And then they asked him again. He was like, well, I just get one of everything y'all got. And then once he betrayed them and got the money, he really bought one of everything they had.
Right.
They was kind of making that point the whole movie. They were saying like
the stereo.
Yeah, they were saying he didn't have no imagination. Like they said that a few times throughout the movie.
Slim, Artt needs to be let back into the stage.
Don't leave again, nigga.
While he's doing that, so
I don't see him.
One of the times that they mentioned his lack of imagination. The last time that it was said by Mashkoff. Mashkoff was the third party that wasn't really involved in the whole heist thing until I don't remember his name, but his cousin got killed by this dickhead or whatever. And so we don't see him a lot during the movie, but I just wanted to shed some light on his character. It's played by Alexander Krupa. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong because I'm pretty sure he's Russian or Argentinian or something like that. But two other movies that I've seen him in is Blue Streak. He played the bad guy in Blue Streak, and he played one of the robbers in Home Alone 3. And though he didn't have a lot of screen time, I think he did well with the screen time that he had. I think the first time that we kind of seen him in a little bit of action is when he go and press Skinny Pete, because he heard that Skinny Pete knows the guy with that has this gold and whatnot, and he's dealing with some people that might have something to do with his cousin getting killed, and he just barges up these niggas, Skinny Pete and them. They supposed to be like some tough ass niggas, but he rolled up with his people with a motherfucking bloody axe, already freshly used.
They was Ukrainians.
Sure, Ukrainians.
I might have a slight critique. I don't think it takes away from the movie for me, but so I think his character was cool. However, it almost seems like it was just like a random kind of side story, side storyline, and it might be just a cop out for a conclusion to get rid of the villain. His name.
So it might be a little bit of plot armor for the group.
Yeah, because that is how he ended up getting bodied at the end of the movie. Like, we don't see it, I don't think, but it's implied that he gets smoked by these Ukrainians.
Right.
But that kind of the Ukrainian storyline just kind of randomly popped up with the killing of the guy in the store, and so it's like it don't really add to the main plot of the movie,
It just
but
helps wrap it up.
yeah, it helps get rid of the villain, and so maybe it was a cop out. I don't know, but it don't take away from the movie.
I mean, I'm not inclined to call it that only because the general idea is that this dude Steve is greedy as fuck. People end up dying for it. He was greedy and he killed Steve. He was greedy and so he killed that motherfucker in the store. You know, he was asking too many questions. He kind of got it that it was about Venice, Italy. The dude he whatchamacallit in the store or whatever. I feel like he must have had words with who Gotti was playing, Skinny Pete or whatever else, right? So I think it is somewhat tied in. Like basically he was digging a little bit too much or whatever into that shit and figured out that the gold bars was from Venice. He knew that there was a heist back then and shit. And he told him, well, who did you tell? And he said, well, I didn't tell anyone. You don't trust me? Well, he did tell somebody. He told fucking Skinny Pete, right?
Hey, that's another, like what you just brought up. That's another one of them scenes where I was talking about the dialogue with the. It might be mostly with Ed Norton's character, but he did it with him too. The same thing he did with John at the beginning when he was like, "Yeah, you're right," and he shot him. He did it with him too. The dude was like, he ain't tell nobody. He was like, "Well, I guess I believe you. I guess I gotta believe you," or some shit. Then he just killed the nigga, like unexpected after the dialogue that you just gave.
Yeah, like I definitely think he was trying to like erase any type of anybody kind of knowing what he was on and shit like
Sure. That. He was trying to cover his tracks.
And the fact that he had a connection to like them Ukrainian motherfuckers and shit like that's just a family affair. They found him dead, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I agree, but I feel like if we take that out of the movie don't really change. Like the overall plot of the movie don't really change if we take out the Ukrainians.
Well, if you take the Ukrainians out the picture, essentially the only thing standing between Steve and his fortune is just going to be the group, the main cast. And they were definitely in a position to just get away with that shit. It's just that at the end they had some extra insurance. But whatever negotiations and shit that he had with them happened off screen. So it's a little bit miraculous.
Yeah. Well, I'll say what it was. I feel like it was good because Charlie knows the type of person that Steve is. So he probably knew Steve would try what he tried. Steve tried to make a deal with the Ukrainians first, but Charlie had already beat him to the punch. And so I think that might have been the reason they did it off screen, kind of like a little surprise misdirection. Like on screen, we see Charlie wanting to make a deal because he's trying to save his life, really. Right. So he wants to make a deal with the Ukrainians. I'll give you some gold, this and that. You know how much gold over there? I give it to you. But Charlie already made that deal, which we don't see. But once they tell us that, it's like, oh shit, now you ain't got shit, Steve. So I think it might have just been like a little element of surprise or misdirection that they did it off screen.
Yeah, and they usually do that in most heist movies. There's some last minute misdirection. You know, they do it in what is it called? Fucking Now You See Me. That's actually another heist movie. They do it in that, and it's more so on the magic side, but it's, you know, just to help with the intricacies. I don't know why I'm struggling with that word.
Intricacies
of the scheme and the plot itself.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Artt had to leave. Well, he said he's coming back right now, but
shout out to Joe as well. Shout out to EBL, Dave, everybody pulling up and shit like that. Appreciate y'all.
Shout out to everybody, man.
But one thing I want to point out about this film, before we get too much into the plot holes, that man, the soundtrack was actually mad good, dude. Like the little beats they was playing, the little intro music at the beginning in Italy and stuff like that. A lot of just really good music in this film. I don't know if it's because we had rappers on the cast that they felt inclined to put a little bit of flavor, but the music in this film was actually pretty good. I actually know it was noticeably good. I had the same feelings about Lincoln Lawyer. Lincoln Lawyer always had some fat, like, you know, East Coast 90s type boom bap beats going and shit. So I think the music in this film was actually really good. So I think that should be noted. And then also the settings I'm glad that they put the budget into shooting in Italy. I mean, after watching this film, I want to go to Italy. Like, the place looks beautiful. You taking literal boats in the town and shit like that to get around and stuff. Also crazy that they did a car chase scene, but it wasn't cars, it was boats. Awesome scene.
Yeah, that was fire. Yeah,
the scene.
Yeah, that was a fire
chase
scene. I like that scene.
between the Steve in the helicopter and Charlie in the car. That shit was kind of dope too.
Oh yeah. I think the whole part of them just driving through the canals of that fucking train station was wild. And I also like it how it's kind of like the old part of the Sonic games where you get that bonus level and you gotta run on that that tube almost. You can run on the walls and it's round and shit. They had the same thing where, you know what I'm saying, they driving on the walls and shit, and they can kind of dodge bullet fire by driving on the wall, and that whole part there, it's got some interesting, you know what I'm saying, layout there. I like that shit a lot.
I will say that with, and this might be, victim to the times, but the way that they kind of talked up Jason Statham's character when it came to his driving, he didn't do a whole lot of crazy driving in it.
Hey, Roots, you want to know something that I read after watching the movie? Because I had seen this movie a long time ago. I believe it was one of my favorite movies back in the day. I just didn't really remember it. Mm-hmm. But something that I read after watching this movie again is that most of the actors in this movie did their own stunts, and they did a lot of the driving too. Jason Statham specifically, I think he had to. He went through this course or class or something with some Formula One people, and he got like this little 2-day certification or some shit with that. So I wanted to point that out. Like, I think they did a lot of that driving and shit on their own. So I don't think it was a lot of effects and CGI and shit. Especially for like 2000.
CGI wasn't happening, but stunt drivers were probably happening. I mean, with the Charlize Theron, I don't think that she was doing a lot of that whippity shit she was doing in that Mini Cooper. I'm pretty sure there was a stunt double, and I was attentive to it because from the angle the light was reflecting onto the windshield, but it was like tinted in such a way you couldn't quite see the face. And I'm pretty sure it was probably stunt actors and shit.
So I got a few quotes about it. So it says that the actors did most of their stunts. Like I said, driving. They said driving down the stairs when they did the scene, driving down the stairs in the LA Metro. They said they did that on their own. Most Def, he did it too, like some of the driving, but they said he didn't have a driver's license. I know you from New York. Y'all don't really be driving like that out there. It's people that drive, but a lot of people take subways. So I guess he had to get a driver's license, and he ended up driving a little bit in the movie too. And so maybe they might have did like a little bit, and then maybe had some stunt drivers do a little bit too. Yeah. But it definitely said that they did a lot of their own stunts and driving in this shit too.
That's impressive to me. That definitely adds, I think, to the value.
Risky, bro.
But a lot of the margin for error for some of their stunts was tiny. I'm talking about the train was about to meet the gap between the train and the wall, and they drove 3 Mini Coopers between it before the train could get there. Type of shit.
But I don't think that. So with that, I don't think they literally had a train. You know how it is. It's Hollywood. But I don't think they literally had a train that they had to try to beat to get on the track. They might have doctored that shit up some kind of way. Like maybe the train was moving slow motion or something.
Yeah, for the purposes of the movie, for sure.
Yeah.
But the whole maneuver itself is risky. Don't know how you go off the edge with that small little space you got there and land square in the car. Would think a car typically would topple or something like that. And so a lot of that stuff, again, very miraculous, small margin for error, especially driving on the sidewalks, driving on the, driving through traffic and shit when it's all backed up and stuff. A lot of that stuff just requires some extremely good direction. So again, a lot of that stuff was great. And to hear that they were doing their own stunts definitely adds to the value. The chase scenes were definitely fire.
Yeah, but this being 2003, I think it was like fucking amazing. I ain't gonna lie, this was fucking 2 decades ago. This shit was fire. Right. Y'all got anything else, man, before we get to the final thoughts?
Nah, man. We making good time today. That was a good ass movie, man.
I want to say, like, I never seen like any clips of the Italian Job before this, or knew anything about it. I just knew it was a movie called The Italian Job. I always thought The Italian Job was a mafia movie. It's the entire
Because
time.
it sounds like one, right?
Sounds like one, and I thought it was gonna be that too until today, honestly.
I could have sworn it was an Italian movie, like an Italian mafia movie with not Robert De Niro or Joe
This
Pesci or
was
somebody.
so. Or I think this was a like a 1969 or something movie at first. I believe Michael
Absolute date.
Caine might have been in it. I'm not sure,
That's fine.
but yeah,
It made
this
me
is
want actually makes me want to because I always like seeing like watching remakes of movies and then watching the original to see like what they did differently. Because
yeah.
I can't
I
even
never
imagine this
seen the
being a
original.
1969 movie.
Me either, especially with the I don't know how they did it in 1969 because there's no, they didn't do the fucking car chase scenes like that and shit. Of course not. So they might have did it with boats and shit. But still, I don't know. I might have to go back and watch it too to see what they did and what they did differently.
Right.
Hey, Roots, is Roots there? I don't know if Roots is there. He gave me his rating. If he's not there, man,
Yeah, he gave his rating. I don't know if he's pulling back up or not.
we can go ahead and get into the final thoughts, man. What you got, Luno?
All right, man. So overall, man, this one here was a very entertaining watch. This movie here, I think, is probably one of a kind, but I don't mean that to say it's unique. I mean that this is probably a niche of film, from the plot to the cinematography and all the elements of it. I feel like there are probably a lot of movies like this movie that I have yet to see. There are a lot of things in there that feel reminiscent of tropes. And this doesn't take away from the movie. It's just to say that I don't think that this one here is gonna be, is a classic or something like that. I know they were gonna do The Brazilian Job, a sequel to this one, and that movie was ultimately canceled. Nonetheless, though, really entertaining movie, engaging from start to finish. Where the actors didn't take themselves too seriously, they made up for it with the exceptional comedic performances, I would say, and interpersonal performances. The plot was functional. I know what's going on. It makes sense. And there's no ties left untied. It's not a groundbreaking or envelope pushing movie, but it's one that I recommend to watch to anybody looking to have a good time. This movie here, we gave it a 7.8.
All right, Art, what you got?
Pretty much a lot of things what Leno said I agree with. I'm not a big heist movie fan. Like I said, it's probably my first one. This is pretty much what I expected once I realized it was a heist movie. Like I said, I thought it was a mafia movie till then. But no, it was a good movie. I like the characters, the ensemble. Most Def is always a pleasure to watch act. Not too familiar with a lot of other people. But yeah, I like the movie. I'll give it about 7.8.
All right. So, like I said, back in the day, I used to fuck with this movie heavy. It had just been a long time before my bad. It's been a long time since I had seen it. And so I didn't really remember the details about it or too much. And so, of course, rewatching it, I'm knowing like what's gonna happen with the plot because I've seen it before, but it's just like I was rewatching it just to see the experience. Like, is this movie actually fire, or what? Did I just like it back in the day because I was younger, or what it was? But I think this is definitely an enjoyable movie. I think most people that watch this movie might actually enjoy it. I would definitely recommend it to people to watch. I thought it was fire, like I said, especially for 2003. Like some of the stunts, some of the like the way that it was shot. Like it doesn't seem like it was old quality. It seems like some shit that could probably be made today. And I think the characters did great. I don't think it was any character that really brought the movie down. I think they all pretty much held up their end of the job, man. It was fire. Like I said, the plot. I like heist movies. I think that's something that I like. I've seen a lot of them. Some of them I don't like as much. This is one of the ones I think is really good. This Ocean's 11 type shit. So yeah. Overall, for me, I'm gonna give it a 8.3, and I'll give BlackRootz a couple seconds to see if he's here. If he's not, I'm gonna just say his rating, and we can go on to the next movie. His mic is muted, so he may not be here. So yeah, we ain't gonna waste too much time waiting on Roots, man. Roots gave the movie a 9. So with that being said, the final score for The Italian Job is an 8.2.
Let's
Pretty
get
good,
it.
pretty good.
Take that, man.
And with that being said, next week's movie will be chosen by Artt. So Artt, man, go ahead and let us know.
See, y'all know me. Y'all know I gotta be a little bit different from everybody else. Gotta pick something that kind of fits my personality and what molded me into who I am.
Yep.
I think this is gonna be the first biopic that we got.
Yeah, we never did one of those.
2005's Lords of Dogtown. About do I have to say what it's about already? Or wait?
Nah, you good.
You can wait till
Lords
next
of
week,
Dogtown.
man. You can wait till next week.
All right, yeah, Lords of Dogtown is our next movie, man. See y'all then.
All right, man. Well, that's it, man. With that being said, this has been another episode of the Real Rap Coalition podcast, man. Shout out to Dave for pulling up. Shout out for EBL, Exclusive Battle League, man. If it ain't exclusive, it don't matter. Shout out Joe. Shout out Joe for life, man. Lights Out Television. Shout out Pujols, man. He couldn't be here today. Yeah, man. That's it. We'll be back next week with another episode. We are
Real rap
out.
shit, man. We
Peace.
out.